Hey, good morning, everybody, and welcome to another Mortgage Coach Tuesday coaching call. My name is Dave Savage. If you are a Mortgage Coach member, hopefully you've already connected with me on LinkedIn, Facebook. This call, along with all our calls, are posted on our YouTube video, and hopefully you've downloaded all of our apps. So this is an exciting time. There's a lot of things to celebrate in Mortgage Coach land. This month represents our 18 years in business at Mortgage Coach and my employment of 18 years. So thanks to everybody that reached out personally on LinkedIn. Thanks for all the emails and phone calls. Really appreciate it. Definitely, this has been one of the honors of my career serving the Mortgage Coach community. And again, we've got a rich community indeed. These Tuesday calls now I've been doing for 7 years, and there's nothing that gives me more energy, more passion than interviewing people like Hal today. Hal, thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me on again, Dave.
Yeah, no, I think this is our 4th time as having you a guest. But I'm always bringing in great speakers, great leaders, great Mortgage Coach leaders, and just bringing leadership. When I started this call, we were coming out of the mortgage meltdown, and I had this whether it's an epiphany or a point of clarity that, during times of turmoil, and in 2008, it was times of turmoil, we all need leadership, and we all need to communicate more. And most companies were, shrinking. There was not inspirational weekly sales meetings happening in the industry. And I thought, hey, that's our responsibility at Mortgage Coach, to come in at a point of chaos and challenge and bring leadership, bring communication on a weekly basis to mortgage professionals. So it's been 7 years. And thank you to everybody who's come to this call and everybody that's joined me as a leader. Again, really excited about it. Also wanted to announce someone that has been a dream guest of mine. Also I don't know if it was the end of 2008 or I don't remember exactly what year, 2009, 2010, that I first saw Simon Sinek present on a TED Talk. But I remember when I watched that talk, it changed me. I mean, my why around Mortgage Coach, my why around being a leader to the mortgage industry, it changed. It was about something bigger than just having a competitive advantage, something bigger than being a trusted advisor. It was about helping families make informed decisions on the biggest investments of their life. So do want to announce that Simon Sinek, I'll be interviewing him on the 22nd, and I do believe this will fill up. This call will be sold out. And there will be people that don't get in. So as a Mortgage Coach, sign up now. Also, I want to make sure everybody watches his TED presentation. If you have not watched it this year, to me this is one of those TED Talks you watch every year. It just grow your own personal why. So if you have not watched it, make sure you watch it. So we've had a lot of amazing guests here at Mortgage Coach this month. Kicked it off with Jeremy Forcier, and we're closing strong with Hal. So Hal, thank you so much for coming here, brother, and taking time to prepare for today's call. By the way, have you watched the Simon Sinek TED Talk?
A long time ago, but yeah, I mean, for me, it actually reinforced my why. For me, I really had a strong why that I was operating from, and it just gave me a depth of clarity and expanded kind of my vision of how powerful why, that concept of why is.
Right on. Well, everybody, I've got a couple follow-ups from last week, but I want to make sure I know how familiar are you with Hal Elrod's Miracle Morning? Have you read his book? Have you been to a call like this one where we've talked about the Miracle Morning? I want to get a feel, do you know when we say Miracle Morning by Hal Elrod, you go, I know what that is. I'm clear on what that is. Again, this will be the 4th time in the Mortgage Coach community where we've interviewed Hal. So please vote. You've got 3 options, yes, no, or I've heard of them, but I'm not really sure. Only about 45% of you have voted, and I want to make sure we really crush it today. So I want to have a good feeling, who are we talking to for the first time, and who already understands the Miracle Morning by Hal Elrod? So again, 60% of you have voted. And here are the stats, by the way, Hal.
Yeah,
21% say yes.
Wow.
64% say no. And 15, they kind of know your story, but they don't really know. So that's That's good to know.
Yeah, very, very good to know. Yeah, it's hard when you're talking to an audience if you don't know that. You're like, yeah, you don't know. So that's cool. Really good. Really helpful.
Yeah, and actually, I would not have guessed that. I would have thought it would have been at least 50% new, your story.
Yeah.
So if you go to the Mortgage Coach community, not only did we record a lot of his calls, but our team cut down one of the first calls we did together where he really told his story over the course of 55 minutes, and we've got 6 minutes and 50 seconds. So make sure you go check that out. Again, Hal's message is life-changing. It is game-changing. And it's not just about waking up in the morning early, although that certainly is a piece to the puzzle, waking up early. So I want to make sure that we let you know that we've got Hal's information. Also, I want to walk you through to make sure you're aware of this, that every time I've interviewed a best-selling author, we have created a playlist in the Mortgage Coach community showing who they are and giving you a quick playlist to go listen to the best-selling authors of folks that we've interviewed. So Hal's calls in here, along with a lot of other authors that we have interviewed over the past 7 years. So I just wanted to make sure everybody knew about that playlist. So Hal, before we bring you in formally and really start going after some of the message that you plan to share today, in our prep call, we talked about TRID. I'm not going to ask the survey question right now, but if you were not on this call with Nikki Groff and myself and Steve Harney a few weeks ago, and you've not listened to the recording, I would just urge you to do so. We've been working hard at Mortgage Coach, laying out the Mortgage Coach sales process, showing how with TRID, not only do you want to provide a total cost analysis at the front end, you want to provide it, TBD, house goes into escrow, let's update the numbers, let's update the video. There's a change of circumstance, let's update the video, let's update the numbers. We want to make sure that the closing of the transaction is smooth. Let's update the video, update the numbers, and of course, after the close of escrow, you want to continue to deliver value, continue to deliver clarity. So you're providing another video, say, hey, if you made an extra prepayment on your mortgage, how much faster could you pay it off? So here at Mortgage Coach, I want to really grow that why, so at least make sure you've watched this video. Make sure that you're going from delivering price to families, just saying, hey, here's the transactional cost of the loan, and let's face it, in a way that they don't totally understand. Let's make sure we deliver it in a modern way. Graphs and charts, comparisons. Make sure that every family that connects with you, that talks to you and trusts you for your mortgage advice, they get it. And let's make sure you do that in a way so that the realtor, it's efficient for the realtor. They understand what you presented to the family that they serve. You've attached a video or an audio message to your message so that it's not only graphs and charts, but it's you talking to the family and all the people around the family around what their options are. So on Nikki's call, she took this Mortgage Coach process that we have and she made it hers. So all of these touch points, she said, okay, that's great. I like that a lot. I already add a video, but she made it hers. So make sure you watch that video and join Mickey with taking Mortgage Coach to the next level. So Hal, we're 10 minutes into the hour. You've got the next 50 minutes of today's call. You've spoken to the Mortgage Coach community many of times, although I'm kind of surprised that most of the folks don't already know you.
Yeah,
so,
me too. That was a pleasant surprise. Or actually, I don't know if it was discouraging or a pleasant surprise. I'm still trying to decide.
I think it's a good opportunity. It means there's new people.
I agree.
So a couple things for those of you that don't know Hal. One, it was a year ago in July that I interviewed Hal for the first time on a Mortgage Coach call. And let's put it this way. I interviewed Hal. I told Todd Duncan about his story, and Todd's like, we got to have Hal speak at Sales Mastery. And Hal spoke at Sales Mastery. I introduced Hal to Darren Hardy, and Darren's like, oh my God, editor of Success Magazine. I've got to have Hal in Success Magazine. So again, the ripple effect of Hal has been amazing. I've got customers, the CEO of Georgetown Mortgage, a great partner of ours, Roy, he is still, got study groups where his organization is benefiting from hearing your message and going to your workshops. And I think this quote from Robert Kiyosaki, Hal is a genius. His book, The Miracle Morning, has been magical in my life. And as my rich dad often says, I can always make another dollar, but I can't always make another day. If you want to maximize every day, read The Miracle Morning. And I guess the only thing I would add to that, don't just read The Miracle Morning, take action on it. And, so again, I'm going to, Hal's got some things to share, but I just make note, folks, really special guy, amazing story. His book has, the amount of reviews. By the way, Hal, is that some type of record? I don't know that I've seen too many books with 700 5+ star reviews. Is that like what number are you in? Is that like 1/4%?
It's the top. Yeah, one of my team members actually came to me and said this. He said he did the research. It's in the top 0.1% of all the books on Amazon.com.
Wow.
So
I think we could do a call with how did you do that?
I'm working on a new book called Beyond the Bestseller: How to Create a Movement That Earns You a Fortune and Changes the World. So that's actually, I'm documenting how I did that. Yeah.
Oh, well, I don't know if that's what we're going to talk about today, but I can't wait for that book, and I can't wait to hear that story.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, well, why don't you kind of, before you get into some of the talking points today, kind of unleash your story for folks, so the folks that don't know you a little better.
So here's my background. When I was 19 years old, and some of you were like, you don't look that much older than 19. So I'm 36 now. I just keep the spiky hair to throw people off. But when I was 19 years old, I started selling Cutco cutlery, kitchen knives, and had no real ambition. A buddy of mine got me an interview. I was going to make a little side money. 10 days later, I had broken the all-time company record and sold more Cutco knives in my first 10 days than any other sales rep in 50 years. And that was a real kind of turning point in my life, where I went from being average my whole life and never being an achiever to going, wow, I guess I could do anything I put my mind to. A year and a half later, my world kind of ended. I went from, I was on top of the world as the top sales guy, gave a speech one night, and my world ended when I was driving home from the speech and I was hit head on by a drunk driver at 80 miles an hour. My car was spinning into oncoming traffic. The car behind me hit me in the door at 70 miles an hour, and the entire left side of my body was crushed, and I broke 11 bones. I ruptured my spleen. I punctured my lung. I almost completely lost this ear. My eye socket was destroyed, and I essentially bled to death. You can see here in the pictures on the screen, if you look at the car, I was sitting, like it looks like half of a car, but half wasn't removed. It's that the left side, the driver's side of the car, was crushed into the left side of my body, and that's where all the broken bones came. That picture of me was taken a few days later. I had on the scene of the accident, I died for 6 minutes, and I was in a coma there for 6 days. Came out of the coma, was told I would never walk again. And I guess if there's any lesson from that, it was my attitude, my perspective. And I know right now you guys are dealing with this change that is TRID. It's obviously probably, I don't know if I would compare one or the other as more monumental, but our response is what matters, right? It's not what happens to you, especially anything out of your control. It's how you respond to it that matters. And for me, the doctors thought I was in denial. I was so happy and laughing and joking and smiling. And the doctors called my parents in and they sat him down. They said, Mr. and Mrs. Elrod, we're a little bit concerned with Hal. We believe he's in denial because it's not normal for a 20-year-old young man that's being told he may never walk again to be laughing and joking. We think he's delusional because he can't accept his reality. And my dad came in that day and sat me down and had this conversation and said, hey, Hal, the doctors are concerned. They want me to get to the bottom of how you're really feeling. Are you depressed? Are you scared? Are you sad? What's underneath this facade of everything's going to be great? And I told my dad, I said, Dad, there's no facade. I can't change this. This is out of my control. So the only thing that makes sense is for me to be the happiest I've ever been as I go through the most difficult time in my life. I'm focusing on what I'm grateful for and what I want, not what I'm afraid of. And I told my dad, there's only one of two possibilities here. Number one, the doctors are right and I never walk again. And I said, I've accepted that. If that is the worst case scenario comes true, I told my dad, I'll be the happiest person you've ever seen in a wheelchair. because I said, I'm in a wheelchair either way, right? Either way, I'm in a wheelchair. So I could either be depressed and miserable and angry that I'm in a wheelchair, or I could be rolling around the happiest, funniest, most grateful person you've ever seen in a wheelchair. And my question kind of is, what's your wheelchair, right? Is TRID your wheelchair? Is there a situation at home that's your wheelchair? And when I say your wheelchair, I mean, what are any circumstances that are out of your control that you can't just snap your fingers and change them today in this moment? Maybe you can over the long run, but in this moment you can't. What's that for you? And how can you be the happiest, most effective, most positive, most proactive lender, and human being in the midst of even the most difficult time in your life, let alone a change in your disclosures, right? I mean, really to put it in perspective. And to kind of wrap up that story, it's obviously a very long story in the whole recovery, but 3 weeks after I had that conversation with my dad, and I guess real quick, there was a second part. Possibility number 1, I never walk again. Possibility number 2, I said, Dad, I will walk again. And that's where my energy is going. All my focus, all my energy, I'm praying about it, I'm visualizing, taking my first step again. So I've accepted the worst case scenario, but I can't change it, so I'm not putting negative energy into wishing that I could or complaining to everybody around me that this happened and it's not fair, because that adds no value to my life or anyone else's. I've accepted the worst case scenario, and I said, Dad, all of my energy is going into walking again. That's what I'm seeing. But if that doesn't happen, I'm already at peace with the worst case scenario, right? So it's this kind of fine line where you expect the best, you focus on what you want, you put your energy into what you want, not what you're afraid of or what you don't want, but simultaneously you accept all the things that are out of your control. And I don't know if it's a coincidence, but 3 weeks after this picture of the car that you're seeing, my leg broken, 3 weeks after, and a week after this conversation with my dad, 1 week later, the doctors came in with routine x-rays, and they said, we don't know how to explain this, but your body is healing so rapidly that we've changed your prognosis to you may never walk again, or maybe in a year you can try, to tomorrow. You can take your first step tomorrow. And, 3 weeks after the crash, I took my first step. And I don't have a graph to show you guys, here's how positive I thought, and my body healed in alignment with that, right? I just know that what happened for me, I accepted all the things that were out of my control, put my energy into what was in my control and visualizing what I want, and every day I went to therapy and I did extra hours. I did everything that I could to move in the direction of what I wanted for my life, and, it happened faster than anybody would have imagined. So that's the short version of the story.
Well, first of all, folks, he gives the long version, and he tells it in a way that emotionally connects and tells it in a way that makes you better. So that is available. If you haven't watched it, watch it. And also share it at your next sales meeting. And if you have a sales rally coming up, Hal Elrod will fire up your team and make everybody more productive. So I love this picture. I'll probably show it a few times throughout this call because this is how I see Hal. And if you've ever seen Hal on stage, he just brings this X factor energy that's undescribable. His ability to tell stories in a way that are valuable, and if you like it when your employees wake up early and you like it when they come to work prepared, it's something that you might want to share with others on your team. So Hal, I know you've got some things that you want to plan to share with the mortgage coach community. So I'll let you kind of unpack some of your talking points, and I'll just ask some questions along the way.
All right, fantastic. So I wanted to touch on TRID because I know that's on everybody's mind, and I'm not an expert in TRID, but I've done some research, I've read some articles, I've watched some videos to really understand what you guys are kind of where you're at right now. And I think the pros really outweigh the cons. And the pro is, it's transparency between you, your realtors that you work with, and your borrowers. And it's an opportunity for you, I think, to raise your game and deliver a better experience for the families that you serve. So to me, it's just an opportunity for you to add more value and have a more transparent process. And one of the benefits of Mortgage Coach, and being a Mortgage Coach member, is that you've got this tool that can facilitate that process to make it easier and more clear for you and your realtors and your clients, and to save you time, which I know that's a big concern, is how much longer is it going to take, to close a loan. And I think the big picture is it's about how you're going to respond to any change in your life. You know, most people resist change, and the reality is there's no point in resisting change or complaining about it. Your long-term success has nothing to do with TRID. It has nothing to do with anything outside of your control. And like, you know, Dave said, I've heard him say this before, that some lenders will lose market share while others will gain market share. Same thing that happened in 2008. And which camp you're in has nothing to do with outside factors and everything to do with you and how you respond to those outside factors. So that's my quick TRID soapbox, if you will.
Real quick, because I want loan officers to think about this. Every time, and I meet with a lot of CEOs, I meet with a lot of heads of compliance, heads of production, top performers, and when I ask them, do you think TRID is going to increase the amount of man hours that it takes to close a loan? So from your initial consultation till the time you close the loan, on average, when I ask that question, how many man hours is it? People say 5. Some people say 3, some people say 7, but 5 man hours to close a loan. And when I ask how much time is TRID going to increase it, I haven't heard anybody say it would actually reduce the amount of time. I've heard as low as 20%, so that means going from 5 hours to 6 hours, and I've heard as high as 40%, which, ouch, you know, it's a lot. So this is an opportunity. I mean, there's no doubt that thousands of realtors are going to play musical chairs with their loan officer. They're going to leave. When you take the closing process and you go from 5 hours to 6 to 7 hours, there's just going to be some changing of relationships. So I think, you know, what Hal said is, do you want to be the one that picks up relationships, picks up market share, or do you want to be the ones that's on the losing side? So again, Hal, it couldn't be better timing as we come in to TRID preparation to have you, because to your point, it is, so much of it is just a head game. You know, what is your attitude? What is your why? Because that drives how you execute. So anyways, great message. All you sales managers on the call, hopefully you'll bring this message into your next sales meeting. And like I said, you leverage Hal to help inspire and train and get your sales force, you know, ready up here. Go ahead, Hal.
I won't disagree with that, Dave.
I didn't think you would.
Yeah. So, you know, speaking of, I wanted to touch on something, which is your why. You know, you mentioned why, and I know you've got Simon Sinek coming on, which I'm excited for the community and for you to have Simon as a guest. He's a huge mentor of mine. But Simon, you know, the whole idea of your why, if your why is really pure, if it's really about serving your customers, and adding value for the families and giving them the best experience, if your why is not about you and how you can get the most money in the least amount of time without having to, you know, put the least amount of effort in, and if it's really self-centered, which, and I'm not judging if that's good or bad, but I'm saying if the why is really about you and not about the bigger picture and the people that you serve, then I can see how this would be, you wouldn't like TRID. But if it's really about the people that you serve, I think this is something that you want to look at, is how can I turn what some might look at as an inconvenience or even an adversity, how can I turn that into an advantage, right? And that's how you're going to gain market share. I was at a mastermind last week, and a fellow mastermind member at the end of the 2-day mastermind asked me what I had learned at the event, you know, at the meeting. And I responded by telling him that, you know, I don't really know that I learned anything new. It was what I was reminded of that I already knew that was really valuable, or that was valuable for me. It was what I already knew, but that I wasn't taking full advantage of. And similarly today, I want to talk about 2 things that I think really matter most. They're the difference maker. They're the needle mover in your life, in your business, and they're one thing that no one can ever take away from you. They're one thing that they're in your control. These are the 2 things that, you know, new disclosures, new rules, regulations, a failed economy, none of that can change these 2 items. And while these aren't rocket science or some revolutionary new technology like Mortgage Coach, right, these are some fundamentals that I just want to bring back to your attention and give you some kind of thought joggers in terms of assessing how are you doing in these areas, and what could you do to take these 2 areas to the next level, to take your results to the next level. And the first is personal development. What is your level of personal development? and the second is your relationships, right? Both the quantity of relationships that you have and the quality of those relationships. How can you take your personal development to another level and then take your relationships both in quantity and in quality to another level, so that who you become is more than you've ever been before, and that the relationships that you have are at a level that you've never had before. So you're fostering both you and the relationships that you have to really optimize your success. The first is your level of personal development, and this has really become kind of the center of my work, and it was born from a quote from Jim Rohn, the great Jim Rohn. He said, your level of success will seldom exceed your level of personal development, because success is something that you attract by the person that you become. And when I heard him say that, it was 2008. The U.S. economy had crashed. I had lost over half of my I was a coach, I was a keynote speaker, and I was an author. I'd written my first book. And it felt like it was overnight. It happened, it was probably like a 6-month kind of downward spiral, but over half of my coaching clients were affected by the economy, and they couldn't afford to pay me, and I lost half of my clients. I lost half of my income. My house, which I had bought at the peak of the market in 2006, I lost in 2008 back to the bank. As a result of so much fear and uncertainty, I got deeply depressed. And this depression spiraled downward into 6 months. I got in debt. I was living on credit cards. I was a mess. I wasn't exercising physically, mentally, emotionally, and financially. I was at the lowest point in my life. And a series of events led me to go on a run, which I hated. I hated running, but a friend told me that if I wanted to get better in my life, I had to focus each day on a little bit of exercise and a little bit of personal development. And my very first day, I heard this quote from Jim Rohn, and I'll say it one more time. Your level of success will seldom exceed your level of personal development, because success is something you attract by the person you become. And in that moment, I realized I'm not dedicating time every day to my personal development, at least not at a high level. Therefore, I'm not becoming the person that I need to be to create the levels of success that I want. And if you think about it, we all want level 10 success, right? If you're measuring success on a scale of 1 to 10, not just in your career, but in any area, your relationships, your health, your energy, your finances, your happiness, we all want level 10 success. And when I heard Jim Rohn say that quote, this was my visual. I thought, I want level 10 success, but my level of personal development at that time in my life when I was really down and I was discouraged and I was scared was like at a 2, maybe a 3 on a good day. And you can see this is the disconnect for most human beings on the planet. This is what we want in our outer world, but this is who we are. And there's the disconnect. And what I realize is if I dedicate time each day to developing myself into a level 10 person, level 10 success will meet me head on. And let me define personal development for you really quick, because it's kind of an elusive, vague, not a real precise term, right? What is personal development? Is it reading books? Is it just growing? I define it as who you are as a person. Just think about that. Your level of personal development, it really incorporates every aspect of you. It's your physical, mental, and emotional vitality. It's your confidence. It's your knowledge. It's your skills. As you improve each of those, you develop yourself in each of these personal areas, your knowledge, your physical, mental, and emotional vitality. That's your level of personal development. And so we all want level 10 success. For me, and what I'm going to share with you today, I had that realization that I'm not developing myself into a level 10 person. And so the question became, how do I do that? And for you, how do you accelerate that process? So how do you become a level 10 person as fast as humanly possible? And for me, I realized 2 things. Number 1, I've got to start waking up in the morning, not when I have to wake up like I normally do, where I wake up, at the last minute, hit the snooze button a couple times and head out the front door. Or for those of you that are already morning people, you go, no, I have no problem. I wake up at 5 a.m. But when I woke up early, it was usually I would check email first thing. I would dive right into work. I might surf social media. If that's familiar to you, my realization was not only do I have to wake up a bit before I'm supposed to be up to go to work, I've got to wake up and I've got to create the most extraordinary personal development routine known to man, so that I can become that level 10 person as fast as possible. And I identified 6 practices that we're going to discuss today. They're called the savers, or more of the expanded version is the life savers. Savers is the acronym, SAVERS. And before I tell you what the savers are, I want to read a quote from Robert Kiyosaki. Dave opened with a quote from Robert, and I'll give you a quick backstory. I was speaking at a mastermind about 4 months ago, and Robert Kiyosaki was the other. He and I were the 2 keynote speakers. And so, of course, I took the opportunity to meet him, and I gave him a copy of The Miracle Morning, and I signed it, to Robert. Now, if you're Robert Kiyosaki, right, you're a multimillionaire. You've read just about every book on personal development. In fact, you've written the #1 personal finance book of all time, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. I figured the odds of him actually opening that book, let alone reading it, weren't very good. But, you miss all the shots you don't take, so I got to get the book in his hands and, hope for the best. 3 weeks later, I got an email from his publicist saying, Robert and his wife, Kim, are big fans of The Miracle Morning, and they want to have you on Rich Dad Radio. So that was the first, oh my gosh, moment for me. I got on Rich Dad Radio, but here's where it blew my mind. Robert starts passionately going off to his audience about how he's read The Miracle Morning 3 times. He's read the book 3 times. He said it's completely changed his life, and he was on his 60th consecutive day that morning. And my mind was blown because I thought, Robert Kiyosaki's a multimillionaire. He's as successful as you could ever hope to be. He's also 65 years old, and he's been a leader in my space of personal development for 30 years. And I thought, I can't believe, I wouldn't have ever imagined that it would change Robert Kiyosaki's life. So here's what he said. He wrote me, I emailed him. Of course, I'm taking notes as he's talking, going, changed my life, read it 3 times, and I emailed that to his publicist, said, hey, would Robert approve this endorsement? And he came back and said, there's a whole reason I'm telling you this, by the way, but he came back and said, Robert said he would like to write his own endorsement for you. I thought, okay, that's great. And a few days later, I got a really long, 3/4 page endorsement from Robert. And here's what he said about the savers. I'm about to go in depth with you on the savers. Even if, by the way, for that 21% that is familiar with The Miracle Morning, you've read the book, I'm going to give you some advanced tips and strategies on the savers that I've never taught before on a call, because I literally just wrote an article for entrepreneur.com about 2 weeks ago, and this is where I developed some of these new ideas. So you're going to get brand new material, and if you've never heard The Miracle Morning, you've never heard the savers, of course you're going to get a whole new introduction to the material. But here's what Robert put in writing to me about the savers. He said, going through the savers every morning is like pumping rocket fuel into my mind, body, and spirit. So back in 2008, when I was at my rock bottom, in the peak of the recession, when I started implementing these 6 practices, the savers, I went from being at my lowest point, to more than doubling my income in less than 2 months as a result of doing the savers. Now, if you're wondering how did that happen, and when you find out what the savers are in just a minute, the savers are 6 of the most powerful, proven personal development practices that have been practiced by the world's most successful people forever. But, Robert, he actually made a point. I don't know if I still have his endorsement up in front of me. Let me see if I do, because I can read the entire thing. Here's what he said, actually, the full thing about the savers. He said, many people do one of the savers daily. For example, many people do the E. They exercise every morning. Or some do the S, for silence. They meditate every morning. Some do the S for scribing. They journal every morning. But until Hal packaged the savers, no one was doing all 6 ancient best practices every morning. So that's what makes this so powerful, is you can go, you could find, I'll give you an example, Ray Dalio, who runs the world's largest hedge fund, at least he used to. He's a billionaire. He said that meditation is the #1 key to his financial success. So not his spiritual success, his financial success. And then I saw a great interview with Will Smith, and he told Ellen DeGeneres that the number one key, or one of the main keys for his success as one of the highest paid Hollywood actors, was affirmations. So these 6 practices, what made it unique is I was originally looking at them and going, which of these 6 is the best? Which of these, maybe 1 or 2, would take my success to the next level the fastest? And my conclusion was, it depends on who you ask. And the ultimate conclusion, the light bulb moment, the epiphany was, what if I did all of these? What if instead of picking 1 or 2 like most people do, what if I did all 6 of them in one ritual every single morning? And that's what makes the Miracle Morning and the Savers, as Robert Kiyosaki said, no one was doing all of them at once. So this is where it accelerates your personal development at levels that you may have never even realized are possible. So Dave, before I go through the Savers and give some strategies and tips on each one, any thoughts, questions, comments?
Well, I have lots of thoughts, and again, every time I bring someone in, I mean, it's not only a gift to the community, it's a gift to me personally. And as I listen to you while I've read your book, I've interviewed you 4 times, I'm not doing all 6 every morning. So, I humbly share I'm not, and I'm going to up my game. And again, not just preparing for TRID. And let's face it, we've got a lot of people on this call, the best of the best, close over 10 loans a month. And most loan officers are happy if they close 3, 4, less than 5. 70% of the industry closes less than 5 loans a month. So, this concept of I want to be here, but I'm here, I mean, that is something that a lot of adults share. I mean, when we're kids, we don't have that. But as we get older, there are some folks that they have an expectation, they're performing at it. Some people that aren't. And I guess what I would say is that this really is an opportunity, whether you take it from here to here, or whether you take it from here to here, it does. I passionately believe it starts with your morning. So I guess what I say is I'm taking notes, I'm paying attention, I'm going to up my game, and I hope everybody on this call, you're engaged. I hope you're taking notes. I want to remind you this is recorded, so you'll be able to listen to the recording again. And for all the managers on this call, when you think of TRID prep, hopefully you'll be sharing this message at your next sales meeting, and you'll be adding value to your team. So unpack it, and I'm grateful.
Awesome. Thank you for that, Dave, and thanks for leading by example, buddy. I appreciate that. So here's the Savers. So the first S is for silence, right? Most people start their day with chaos. It's like they rush out the door, or like I said, they just dive right into work, which it overstimulates your brain. And the benefits of meditation, if you just, you Google benefits of meditation or the science of meditation, and you immediately find out why some of the world's most successful people swear by it. There's a great article that really changed my paradigm around meditation from thinking it was kind of a woo-woo, spiritual practice to being a results-oriented practice. When I Googled, I found an article called Fortune 500 CEOs that meditate, or who meditate. Fortune 500 CEOs who meditate. And it was a list of like 20 plus Fortune 500 CEOs, and they weren't meditating necessarily for the spiritual reasons, not that that's not a part of it, but it was really about, it was optimizing their mindset. It was starting each day with meditating, so it lowered their stress, right? It lowers your cortisol level, which lowers your stress. It enables you to think clearer. It enhances your cognitive ability so you can focus better. You're able to think more creatively. There's so many benefits of meditation. So Miracle Morning starts with silence. And by the way, that could also be prayer for you, or a combination of the two, as it is for a lot of people. The A in Savers is for affirmations, written articles, or I just wrote an article on affirmations, sorry, as I said. Written statements, you don't need to write an article, written statements that affirm what you want, why you want it, what you're committed to doing to achieve it. And just a quick kind of tidbit from that article I wrote on Entrepreneur, and if you want to read the whole thing, you can search for it on Entrepreneur, but the tidbit is most folks have tried affirmations, or most folks that have tried affirmations, they've failed. The affirmations have failed those people. They don't work. And most people, it's actually one of the biggest feedbacks I get from people that say that's the one area of the Miracle Morning that I struggle with is affirmations. My first advice is always go back and read the book, because I teach you how to do them in a results-oriented way, and they always do that and go, oh, okay, I wasn't doing them that way. But here's the essence of it. affirmations have been taught for ages as self-affirming statements that are often false, right? Lying to yourself, which doesn't work. So you say, I'm a millionaire, I'm a millionaire. But if you're an intelligent human being, your subconscious goes, every time you say it to yourself, you read it, I'm a millionaire. No, you're not. I'm a millionaire. No, you're not. Right? You're not even 100,000-aire, buddy. Stop lying to yourself. So the idea is that affirmations that are rooted in some sort of false promise are never going to work. I won't say never. Maybe if you say it over and over enough and you lie to yourself enough, you eventually trick yourself and believe it. But the truth will always prevail. It's never going to be the ideal way to do it. So the way that I teach affirmations in the book is they've got to be results-oriented, which is that they're not designed to trick you. They're designed to focus you on what's your highest priorities. Why are those important to you? What's the reason that is so compelling for you to stay committed to achieving those things and making those things happen in your life and business, that your why is bigger than any obstacle that can stand in your way. Your why is bigger than your voice of self-doubt and mediocrity. It's bigger than your laziness and your bad habits, right? Your why has got to be bigger. And then most importantly, what's the specific action that you will do, and when? When will you do it? Every day from 8 a.m. to 9 a.m.? When will you do that action? So that every time you read your affirmations, you're not trying to trick yourself into thinking, I'm a millionaire, or I've achieved all my goals this year, or I'm a size 7, or whatever, right? But you're reading it, and it's programming your subconscious with what you want, why you want it, and reminding you of what you're committed to doing every single day to ensure that you achieve it. So that's the power of affirmations.
Hey, Hal?
Yes.
Yeah, I want to jump in because that is one of my rhythms that I execute very, very well, at least on a personal level. And I want to share an idea for everybody. So if you can see this, this is my Apple phone, and this is a photo stream. And I've got one called Morning Affirmations. I've got one called Wisdom for My Girls, Wisdom for My Boys. So as a father, I'm leading my son, I'm leading my wife and my daughter, and of course I'm leading myself. So, now I don't say I've cracked the code, but think about saving your affirmations in a photo folder. So like if I see something on social, I'll save it, and then I'll add that to a photo stream. And for all you out there that are practicing Hal's, mastermind, and you have a group, you could create affirmations, and it would be a great way to share them, in addition to your Facebook page. But I just wanted to add that that's a strategy that has served me well. It's a rhythm that I use personally and for some of the people that matter most in my life. So thought I would share that one.
That's great, and that's one thing about the savers is that that you can learn. It takes a minute to learn, a lifetime to master, and there's unlimited variations of them. So if you ever get bored with one of your practices, and this is true for all things in life, right? Do a Google search and ask, find another way to meditate, a new style of affirmations, a new style of visualization, and that is the V. The V is for visualization, and I encourage you to not just visualize the end result, visualize the daily activity. If you hate running, but you want to get in shape, don't just see yourself with a thin body. See yourself with a thin body so you start to get excited about the long-term vision, but most important part of visualization is see yourself lacing up your running shoes, heading out the front door or on the treadmill with a smile on your face, and feel those feelings of, you know what, I hate running, but not today. Today I'm going to love running, and I see what that looks like, and I feel what it feels like, and then your vision should be so compelling that you want to just open your eyes and run out the front door. The E in savers is for exercise, and this is about literally a few minutes of exercise. Robert Kiyosaki told me on the interview he's doing 3 minutes of exercise during his miracle morning, but it's enough to get your heart rate up, get the blood and oxygen to your brain, you think clearer, you feel better, etc. The R is for reading, and not Harry Potter or 50 Shades of Grey, like I know Dave's probably a big fan of, but reading self-help books, right? Reading the books. Like it's funny, I get asked a lot, which book should I read? And I say, well, after the Miracle Morning, of course, ask yourself, what's the #1 area of my business or my life that needs either needs the most work, or really that an improvement in would yield me the best results right now. So you might have an area that really needs a lot of work, but but it's a long way off. But you might go, well, if this one area, if I get that up, that will affect every area of my life. So that's the one I'm going to buy a book on right now. And the final S is for scribing. Yeah, go ahead.
Before we go off that, let's talk about exercise real quick. So I did an interview last year with former Navy SEAL Phil Black, and it was all about energy management. And he gave us some ideas on how to, manage our energy to peak performance. He gave us some ideas on how we could exercise and perform better while we're working. So my ask to him was, everybody who's on this call, what can they do when they get off this call to exercise and to increase their energy? So Hal, I throw two questions at you. One, you said 3 minutes. Yeah. That's what Robert does. Do you know what his 3-minute workout is? And yes or no?
No idea.
Do you know any good 3-minute exercises that we could throw at everybody right now, and literally they could get off this call and go to a next level and then have an idea of how they can work out in 5 minutes or less while in the office?
Yes, I don't have a 3-minute, but I have a 7-minute. So there's an app on the phone. Yeah, exactly. So you're going to be an overachiever here, but there's an app for that. Next to Mortgage Coach, this is like the second best app, and it's called 7-Minute Workout. Yeah, 7-Minute Workout.
I'm going to multitask real quick and download it.
Nice, yeah, and it's great. In fact, me and my buddy were at that mastermind, and we were rooming together, and every morning we did 7-minute workout together. It's awesome. It's a full body workout in 7 minutes. It's fantastic. Yeah, great question. And the S is
$2.95. It's $2.95.
They're all the same, I think, but there's actually a free one. If you scroll down, it's like the third one down.
Is it this one, the orange one?
I think that's the one he used. Yeah, his was the orange one. I used a different one, but it was the exact same workout. So the workout was featured on like NewYorkTimes.com, and so that's where. And then they turned it into an app, and people copied the app before it was trademarked. All right, so and then the final S is for scribing. Scribing is a fancy word for writing. The most popular form of scribing is journaling, right? It's essentially journaling. Now, I have a journal called the Miracle Morning Journal that I created to kind of follow up on my book and what I taught. However, there's a new journal that I like better. It's called 5-Minute Journal. And if you go to FIVE 5minutejournal.com, you can buy the hardcover journal, or if you like apps, the third best app after Mortgage Coach and then 7-Minute Workout is the 5-Minute Journal app. And there's a morning and an evening entry. I'm not going to go in depth, but just go check it out. I highly recommend it. It's my go-to journal, and it's called 5-Minute Journal.
Is it this blue one for $7, or is it another free app?
No, that's it. $7. It used to be $5, yeah, but it's worth every
by the
buck.
way, it is $5. It's $4.99. So I was wrong.
Got it. Yeah, you're wrong. All right. So, so guys, I've got only a few minutes. I've got to get ready for a coaching call. So I want to go. We're going to go over the second aspect, which is relationships. If you, number one, focus on your personal development and engage in the lifesavers. Now, by the way, you might be going, geez, 6 practices, like I can't even wrap my head around it. That's a lot. When I speak to an audience, I spoke to 100 realtors yesterday, or I talk about your miracle morning. The first part of it is setting your alarm clock back 30 to 60 minutes so that you're starting every day with discipline to wake up when you don't have to be up, but when you want to be up. Having discipline to start your day with that purpose, that focus, and dedicating the first 30 to 60 minutes to personal development. So don't wait till you master the savers. Wake up a half an hour earlier tomorrow, like right now. Set your alarm clock back 30 to 60 minutes. Wake up earlier and dedicate that time to reading a book, exercising, half and half, whatever. And then as you implement a new saver into your life each day, each week, whatever. But don't wait until you have all 6 down pat to get started. Just set the alarm clock earlier and dedicate the first part of your day to becoming the person that you need to be to create the life that you want. And then Dave, if we have a few minutes, if it's okay, I'm going to dive into the relationships component.
Go for it.
All right. Yeah, and I know I already talked fast, but we're going to go through this here. So when it comes to relationships, right, two things people can't take away from you, and the economy can't take away from you, and TRID is your personal development, who you have become and who you're becoming, and your relationships. And the quality of those two things impact your success more than anything else in your life. Think about that. So your relationships, when it comes to quantity and quality, I'm going to give you just an assignment to wrap up the call. Make two lists, L-I-S-T-S. I have a list, but I can't say lists. Make two lists. These are your relationship lists. One is for quantity and one is for quality. And then ask yourself the following 3 questions for each list. Number 1, what's working that I need to keep doing? Right? Get clarity on what are you doing well that you need to keep doing. And you might need to be doing more of. You might go, you know what, this is working. Why am I not doing more of this? I'm only doing an hour of this a week, and it's my number 1, lead generator. Why don't I do an hour of that a day instead of once a week? So what are you doing? What's working that you need to keep doing or do more of? That's the first question. The second question is, what's limiting me that I need to stop doing? So in terms of the quantity of your relationships, the quality of your relationships, what are you doing that's not serving you or that's not serving the people that you serve, right, that are in your network? And then finally, what's the next level that you need to start doing? What can you do to increase the quantity of the relationships in your life that can yield you referrals, yield you business? What can you do to increase the quantity? And what's the next level that you need to start doing to increase the quality in terms of your follow-up systems and your closing gifts, your nurturing, those things? So take those 3 questions, and make a column, answer them, brainstorm ideas for increasing the quantity and improving the quality of your relationships. And that, in totality, focus on improving yourself, focus on improving your relationships, and nothing else will impact your long-term success more, in my opinion.
Love it, and couldn't agree more. Makes me think of the interviews I've done with Bob Bodine, The Power of Who. He talks about doing business with your who, people that care about you, that want good things for you, and how to do business with those. So again, another suggestion, if you haven't watched those interviews with Bob Bodine, Power of Who, a great homework assignment as you do that. So Hal, first of all, you always deliver so much value. I mean, great emotional story, great tactical savers, 2 big follow-up items. I got 2 new apps, and hopefully I will improve on my rhythms, and now I have less of an excuse of working out in 7 minutes and scribing. If someone wants to bring you in and have you as a speaker at a sales rally, if someone wants just to stay in your world, like we just found out that 60% of the people didn't know you. How can they keep in touch with you and get to know you? What are your thoughts?
So I would encourage everybody, first and foremost, go to miraclemorning.com. And miraclemorning.com is where put in your name and email, and you will receive the first few chapters of the book for free. You'll get a 17-minute training video from me for free, and you'll get a 60-minute training audio for free. So kind of I call it the Miracle Morning Fast Start Kit. Like, here's how you get started right away. That's at miraclemorning.com. And then that will also add you to my email list. Now, I will tell you, I don't spam you. There's no sales funnel that you're going into. Basically, you get 1 email a week from me, which is when my new podcast comes out. I have one of the top personal development podcasts on iTunes called Achieve Your Goals with Hal Elrod. And yeah, there you go. Number 1, new and noteworthy. We're out of the new and noteworthy now. But you get a weekly email where I'm talking about how to achieve your goals. It's very universal for everyone, and I interview some of the world's most successful people on what are their strategies and principles and mindset around achieving their goals. So that's the best way to get on my radar, on my list, or for us to stay in touch. And then if you want, if you're interested in speaking, you can go to halelrod.com, HALELROD, I wish my new website was up because it's not up yet. And once I look at, Dave, when you get a new website, you hate your old website and you're embarrassed by it, right?
I know what you mean.
I'm like, oh, my old website, I can't even believe it was this bad now that I see what it's going to look like. So anyway, if you forgive the old school website, go to halelrod.com, and you can contact me through the contact form as well there. So.
Right on, brother. Well, hey, I know you've got to get ready for another coaching call. Guys, I've got 5 more minutes. While Hal is on, well, actually, I'll do a survey in a minute. But Hal, if you need to jump for your coaching call, great. If not, I'm going to go through 5 minutes of closing comments and follow up. But stay on until you need to jump.
I got to roll right now. But hey, Dave, thanks for having me on, and Mortgage Coach members, thank you so much for your time today. I hope I see you in the Miracle Morning community, which, by the way, that's our Facebook community. Come join, and we'll see you there.
Take care, Hal.
Thanks, Dave. Take care, brother.
All right, man. So, hey, Mortgage Coach community. So here's some thoughts. Again, I can't emphasize enough as we prepare for TRID. You got some rhythms that will help you improve your morning and just help you improve your energy and your personal execution. We want to help you deliver a better borrower experience to the family, and we want to do it in a way that integrates the realtor. So I can't emphasize enough. It really is as simple as watching that video I did with Nikki a couple weeks ago, and then spending an hour or two and making it yours. Start making sure every time you get up to bat, you get a referral from a realtor, you deliver Mortgage Coach TBD. What are their purchase power options? Different loan amounts that they qualify, different down payments. Call it options with the realtor in the loop. And now when they put it in escrow, they're updated. When there's a change of circumstances, you update the video, you finesse the numbers. And we all know that loyalty does not start when the loan closes. Loyalty starts with how the loan closes. If it closes ugly, you don't get referrals, you don't get a second chance. If it closes smooth, clear understanding, a better mortgage experience, no better way. So we want to help you do that. Update the video, update the TCA, and then I can't emphasize enough. I think this is, when you look at all the Mortgage Coach touch points and value, I do believe this could end up being the most valuable ROI. Because imagine if you were a family, you got a loan with PMI, and after the loan closed, you expect the loan officer just to be out of sight, out of mind. You got an update from them saying, hey, if you made an extra $100 a month in principal, you might be able to pay off your MI earlier and go from 3 to 4 years to pay it off in 2 years. I put some numbers together to show you how you can get rid of that MI earlier. Or let's just say you were a family that said, I want to be able to afford a bigger home, more lifestyle, and a better school district in 5 years. And if your loan officer took 2 minutes after the close of escrow, a couple weeks later, and said, hey, if you made $200 extra in principal reduction, look at how much more equity you would have to help you improve your chances of moving up to that dream home. By the way, if you were a family, would that just blow your mind if your loan officer did that? Absolutely. And if you were a realtor and you were doing business with a loan officer that did this, would you give them more referrals? Would you be more confident in doing business with them? Absolutely. So these Mortgage Coach touch points to help you guys go from price, rate quotes, to delivering, mortgage advice, a way that the family understands, the realtor appreciates. I can't emphasize enough. I do want to remind everybody, you can now create Mortgage Coach videos on the mobile phone. So, pulling up, I'm actually multitasking here, and I'm going to pull up the Mortgage Coach app. So just click on the Mortgage Coach app, and you'll notice that little guy right here in the top corner. If you click on that, log in, it's your Edge username and password, and now click on Client. Let's click on Purchase Options, click on TCA, click on Video, and boom, I could be recording a video right now for a client. So for everybody out there, this is actually a better way to create a Mortgage Coach video because the quality of the audio and video is better. You can control your backdrop a little better. So please make part of your homework assignment watching this video I did with Nikki a few weeks ago. She took our scripts, our touch points, and she made them hers. For the leadership that she's going to bring to her team, her scripts, what is she going to say to the realtor? What is she going to say to the borrower? So again, my homework assignment for everybody, take action on everything that Hal brought to the table today. Have a miracle morning tomorrow morning, and start using the Mortgage Coach app. Go out to it, click the video button, add a video to the Mortgage Coach report, and do it in a way that you can share it with the family. Make sure that you're looping in the realtor. Make sure that you're doing all the right things. So hope this has been a valuable call. I want to remind everybody that the first 3 weeks of every month, so starting next week, Every day, there's training at 9 a.m. and 2 p.m. for Mortgage Coach users. I want to remind everybody we do this call like this every Tuesday. Next week, I'm going to have Scott Cummings, a top mortgage professional out of Albuquerque, New Mexico, sharing what he's doing. We're going to call it story selling. So how is Scott telling stories in a way that makes realtors want to refer him more business? Every Thursday, we're doing tactical training, so join us this Thursday at 9 a.m. Pacific. Every Friday is for beginners. So everybody, I am going to push a poll question real quick. I want to know what you thought of today's call before we wrap it up. So let me know what you thought of today's call. If you are a guest and you're new to the Mortgage Coach community, please click the last option. I want to get a demo. I want to learn more about Mortgage Coach. But let us know what you thought. Did we surpass your expectations, or did we deliver on it? By the way, I see a number of people have said, hey, I want to learn more about Mortgage Coach. We will get back in touch with you. And Hal, I wish you were still on it. I mean, it looks like you blew people's mind. We're getting tremendous feedback. So everybody, have a fantastic week. We will see you next week. Please make sure you sign up for the Simon Sinek webinar. If you have a question you want to ask Simon, I am reaching out to the community and to friends, building up what are all the questions I could ask Simon, and how can we help grow the Mortgage Coach movement within the Mortgage Coach community. So join us, sign up for that, and join us soon. Take care, everybody.